Well, the Eagles officially have their new offensive coordinator. And no matter how you feel, in this video I'll give you a couple reasons for optimism. Also, Kellen Moore is taking a few more coaches from Philly, but is it really that big of a deal? Meanwhile, there's other Eagles news that's about to be a nightmare for the rest of the league. So how does that affect contracts for Zack Baun? Why is Mekhi Becton likely returning? And Myles Garrett on the Philly defense may not be so crazy after all. So let's talk about it. But first, let's run it. What's up, guys? So the Eagles might be in an even better situation than we thought, but I'll explain that one in a second. Although I did want to point out, if you haven't seen it yet, that Patrick Mahomes shaved his head and is going with a new look after getting flat out embarrassed in the Super Bowl by one of the best defenses in NFL history. I mean, yeah, after promising a three-peat and then registering a 7 passer rating through 3 quarters in the biggest game of the year, I'd be questioning myself too.
And we're going for that three-peat, so don't get it twisted. We're doing it. 3 times, first time in NFL history, we doing it.
A few moments later.
I don't know who I am.
Sorry, everyone goes through new looks and new phases in the offseason. Which, speaking of, if you're looking for some fresh new Eagles Super Bowl merch to rep, do me a favor and drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel, because I'm going to be giving away several different items as well as a signed giveaway to one lucky subscriber. Alright, we all knew Philly was going to look different after their championship, especially with Kellen Moore leaving to join the Saints and then quickly interviewing Eagles coaches for various positions. However, as I've shared multiple times, there wasn't really a surprise with quarterback coach Doug Nussmeier getting the offensive coordinator position, which, by the way, officially means running back coach Jamal Singleton is staying with the Birds, as well as the likelihood, based on recent reports, that Brandon Staley will land the defensive coordinator role in New Orleans. Again, also good news for those concerned about losing Christian Parker as the defensive coordinator of the Saints. He will be remaining as the defensive backs coach in Philly. Granted, having said that, there was one surprising loss that Kellen is taking with him, after it was announced that Eagles run game specialist and assistant offensive line coach TJ Paganetti is being hired with the Saints. Now, in case you're not familiar with Paganetti, he spent 10 seasons with the Eagles and was actually one of the few remaining members from all the way back in the Chip Kelly days. Of course, Kellen didn't stop there, as he hired Ted Rath as their director of sports science. Although technically, Rath was fired after 2023, with the Birds not just loving the output from players, so it's not necessarily a huge loss. Still, good for them, they deserve it, and we wish them well. Plus, no offense, even with the loss of Paganetti, it's not like we're losing Jeff Stoutland, so we will be perfectly fine. Yes, even with the Eagles officially making their decision to give Kevin Patullo the offensive coordinator role. Like, come on, I've been saying it for over a week, and it was pretty clear Kevin Patullo would be the OC. Granted, I'm not going to lie that I would have, yes, preferred someone externally to get viewed at for that OC position, but this is where we're at. Yet just because the immediate knee-jerk reaction is, well, we're just destined to go right back into 2023 and the offense we had there, that's not necessarily the case, because Patullo told Zack Baun that he and Sirianni are not the same person and they don't work the same way.
1, 2, 3. Velociraptor.
Okay, they are similar, but I do want to stress the importance of relaxing. This offense is going to be okay. Because unlike Brian Johnson, Anthony DeBona pointed out in his latest article that Kevin Patullo by himself has more NFL experience than the 5 open positions the Birds had to fill in 2023 combined. Plus, Patullo started coaching well before teaming up with Sirianni for the last 7 years, working for 6 different teams in all kinds of roles across his 15 seasons. In fact, believe it or not, it was actually Philly's new offensive coordinator that helped get Kellen Moore acclimated and had a large say throughout the entire season, including the playoffs, for their passing game, with a specific investment in maximizing Hurts' strengths and giving him control.
It's not buying it.
Look, I don't blame you, although the Enquirer's Jeff McLean was told that even with Kellen Moore gone, Patullo plans to have the scheme and terminology the same. Although with, not much, just a few hints of Sirianni's offensive elements.
I knew it. I knew it.
This can still be okay. Like, honestly, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm probably at like a 7 for the confidence level. Because we have to remember, Hurts hasn't had much stability at all. And sure, this is a different OC, but this is also a guy who's been with Jalen for the last 4 years. So the move here allows for QB1 and Patullo to continue building on the offense with some minor adjustments, which, depending on how you view Jalen's comments, might be something he's confident in.
In fullness, if there was a chance to have continuity, I think there could be, I don't know if we ever know, but yeah.
That being said, continuity, Kevin Patullo potentially could be a candidate. Him and work with him. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that idea?
Yeah. Kevin Patullo's never been he'd have a different role. So it's hard to compare, that role to this role, because his job is going to demand something totally different of him. And I have a lot of confidence in him and what he's shown. However, I know over the years I've learned that's out of my jurisdiction, and so kind of just taking things as they come and trying to go out there and be the best I can be and just learn and evolve.
I'll say this, as long as the offense isn't drastically Nick Sirianni's, we're going to be okay, but at least as far as the motion is concerned, that is actually promising. Since after announcing Kevin Patullo, the Eagles then announced they're bringing in Park Frazier as the pass game coordinator, who, in case you're not familiar with, was the Colts' interim offensive coordinator in 2022 before having stints with Carolina and Miami. Meaning, yes, he got a full season to work under Mike McDaniels. And say whatever you will about him, but a pass game coordinator who's gotten a full year to work under Mike McDaniels' offense with all that motion is definitely a good thing. Something Patullo is a fan of.
Well, let's take a look at one of these plays. This is the first touchdown to Devontae Smith. What exactly makes this play go? You've got some pre-snap motion here before the snap, but what exactly makes this play go for Jalen?
So really what we're trying to do here is we're gonna have a little bit of motion here. He's trying to assess if this is zone or man early. So he has this middle open shell look right here, which gives him a zone look. And once the motion starts to go, we're starting to declare these defenders and try to push them across to try to move everybody in position. Now, what's gonna happen here, once the ball snapped, he's gotta find his key read. The routes are gonna start to develop, and what we're gonna see is he's gotta get his eyes on this backside safety. So is it cover 2? Is it cover 4? Where this safety's hanging backside and gonna double Devontae? Or is he pushing across to number 3? So if you let this thing go right here, you can see his eyes are right here on the safety. He starts to push across because the backer is now feeding this route to him, and then Quez is underneath and this linebacker is taking this route. So now Devontae has a one-on-one post route off the corner. This safety is gonna be out of it because he has this quarter with this corner right here on an in cut with AJ. So as you see this play start to develop, you can see right here, it quickly diagnoses this. The safety is grabbing this crossing route right here, and Devontae is one-on-one. Devontae does an unbelievable job of sticking at the top of the route, crossing the corner's face. We have great protection, and it's a perfect play. Touchdown.
By the way, I'm not going to play them all, but if you go back and look at plays that Patullo prefers, there's actually a decent amount of motion that he uses. And one more thing for the endorsement of Park Frazier, but in his first game as interim OC back in 2022, the Colts put up 415 yards of total offense and averaged 7 yards per play. So again, this partnership should challenge while also helping Jalen Hurts to grow and not remaining stagnant. Like, there's something to be said about being around the successes and failures of this team the last several seasons. I mean, Patullo's seen what's worked with Shane Steichen and what didn't with BJ, and then again with what did with Kellen. So personally, I'm okay with it. Again, I'm not over the moon about it. I'm not, the sky is falling. It's going to be fine, but curious how you guys feel. Let me know in the comments. Also, the other side note here, because I know we had several different back and forth about Frank Reich, that's not impossible. Yes, he can't be the OC, but a QB coach is definitely a possibility, because the Birds still have that opening to fill. And considering that Reich has strong relationships with multiple guys on the staff, perhaps he'd consider working with Jalen in that capacity. Obviously, nothing's for certain, but I'll keep you posted there. However, there is one thing we can guarantee. Howie Roseman will not be using the franchise tag on any players this year. I know, that's not exactly a surprise because Philly hasn't used the franchise tag since 2012, but even if they wanted to, Howie would have to do so much restructuring to make the thing work. And plus, it's really not best practice by organizations or franchises to use the tag anyway. And with guys like Zack Baun, Mekhi Becton, Josh Sweat, and Milton Williams, among others, soon to hit free agency, we need all the cash we can get. Although if you listen to some NFL analysts out there, they believe free agency won't be any fun for the Eagles this season. You know, with the Birds doomed to watch the team's yard sale slowly get picked apart.
We're sorry we couldn't pay you. I mean, we have no money.
I'm sorry, that statement would work for teams like Dallas that are stuck in the Stone Ages, but not for Philly. Because after all, this is Howie Roseman, so I'd argue free agency is still going to be fun. Reminder that begins March 12th with legal tampering beginning on March 10th, so just make sure your notifications are turned on so that you don't miss all the madness and everything else because we'll be going live quite a bit. Granted, when it comes to positives for potential signings, Adam Schefter recently told The Fanatic that there's a real chance Mekhi Becton winds up staying, citing the fact that Becton has so much love for the team, the city, the fans, and maybe most importantly, the belief in Jeff Stoutland and the O-line room that they showed him, meaning that he could be willing to, take a slight hometown discount and let Howie know.
I'm not leaving.
I'm not leaving.
By the way, even if he doesn't take a discount because he certainly earned a big payday, there's still plenty of options that the Eagles have to re-sign both him and Zack Baun. But before I get to that, I want to shout out the sponsor of today's video, SeatGeek. Because not only did they help me with all the giveaways throughout the season, but with over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app, which is how I got to the NFC Championship game and all the other games in Philly this season. But just because the NFL season is done, you never know who you might run into at a sporting event. For example, that one year I ran into Bijan Robinson and asked him about all the Philly draft hype. And here's the best part. If you're looking for your next fan experience, you can get 10% off any tickets when you use my code PhillySpecial10 with SeatGeek. Again, there's no match when it comes to attending an event in person. So for those of you thinking about it, go ahead, take out your phone, download the app, and then add code PhillySpecial10 to your account. And look, they make it super easy to sort by event, put all the tickets in one place, and the best deals come up first. Plus, each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, with it being super easy to find thanks to the green dots. Also, every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee, and SeatGeek is the only site that lets you return tickets ahead of the event with swaps. So use my code PhillySpecial10 to get 10% off any tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code PhillySpecial10, and you can do that by downloading the app or just clicking the link in the description. Alright, so how can the Eagles sign back multiple guys and still have room to play with? Well, it's simple really, because according to Over the Cap, the Eagles have about $19 million in cap space. This coming after the NFL announced the new cap number for teams increased to somewhere around the $277 to $281 million range. So first things first, obviously, Zack Baun, we start there because he is 100% the top priority to get signed. Now, at 28 years old, that certainly plays a factor with how much Philly decides to offer. And shout out to ESP for putting together some comparable contracts. Like Jacksonville's Foye Oluokun, who signed a 3-year, $30 million contract when he was also 28. Plus, he had already had 3 seasons of 100-plus tackles and 5 years as a full-time starter. Of course, he never made the Pro Bowl either or won an All-Pro award. However, Indianapolis' Zaire Franklin does have an All-Pro and signed a 3-year, $31 million contract when he was 27, as Franklin had had 5 years experience under his belt in one big-time season. Oh, ESP also did mention Detroit's Alex Anzalone, but that's not even much of a comparison, especially since he has a 3-year deal worth $18 million. Honestly, here's where I'm at. I think that Howie ends up offering Baun somewhere around like $45 million for 3 years, so $15 million a year, although it wouldn't surprise me if it's a little bit more than that. I know, that's crazy money, yet either way, even with just around $19 million in cap space this season, that's more than enough to work with. Because for one, by designating James Bradberry as a post-June 1st cut, that will save the Eagles about $4 million. And then if they do the same thing for Darius Slay, that would save another $4 million in cap space. For the record, Slay played incredibly this season, especially late, but here's the thing. You're looking at the contract, the $4 million you can save, the other guys you got to take advantage of, and I just can't envision him getting the deal. Now, again, he said he would prefer to stay in Philly or go to Detroit. It feels like Detroit's a little bit more likely. Anyway, for the sake of the argument, that alleviates over $8 million in cap space. But it's not even like Howie needs that much. After all, in case you forgot, Howie was able to sign Saquon Barkley to a 3-year, $37 million deal that only resulted in a $3.8 million cap hit last season. So realistically, even if he gives Baun 3 years for $45, we're probably only talking about a $5 million cap hit. Which is the reason, again, I'm predicting both Zack Baun and Mekhi Becton can get deals done. Heck, if we're being honest, the GOAT could probably figure out a way to get Sweaty and Milton deals done too, thanks to his ability to make the cap not seem like an actual thing.
Is there a limit?
I mean, kind of, but not really. Like, take a look at the last 4 increases in the NFL's official cap. 2022 was $208 million, 2023 was $224 million, 2024 was $255 million, and then this year is roughly another 10% increase. Now, I realize that benefits every team, so if the Birds were open buyers on the market, then yeah, that would be a disadvantage. But the fact that they're trying to just retain their own guys is definitely a big gain. Plus, like Brett Coleman said, this year's draft class is tailor-made for Howie to build another hockey line of pass rushers in the first 3 rounds. Which is just, again, another reason why I continue to think it's going to be Baun and Becton, B&B, and then you let Milton and Sweaty walk. Of course, eventually the bill is due. It's just that what the NFL is doing gives another crazy advantage that Howie Roseman takes advantage of more than anyone else. So stay with me here. The NFL salary cap is about to explode again. As Brett pointed out at the beginning this year, Nielsen is changing how they measure ratings, where they'll be leaning into using data from streaming services and traditional TV viewing. And obviously, those ratings turn into estimated viewers, which then in turn go into estimated advertising budgets and then eventually turn into massive broadcasting deals, aka increasing the salary cap like crazy. Now again, this benefits everyone. However, when you realize that the next broadcasting rights negotiation is in 2028 or 2029 and the Eagles owner Jeffrey Lurie has a background in film and television production, there's no wonder so many contracts have been backloaded. Specifically around 2028 and 2029, by the way. Okay, I should point out that technically all the major networks have that deal until 2033. However, the NFL went in and put a stipulation that they can basically pull out and say they're going to renegotiate the deal in 2028.
Money, please.
Okay, for those of you that are up on this, you realize the Eagles have $242 million of dead money in 2029, but still, Philly can continue to do this. They can restructure contracts, push things back, and ultimately take advantage of the increasing revenue that's going to be absolutely exploding in 2028, 2029. Leaving Coleman to say, if I'm a GM, that means next year, or heck, maybe even this year, I can sign some truly outrageously backloaded deals with a ton of funny money that all slams home in 2030 and not even care about the math.
This is all about football. It's not about money or attaining another contract. Just want to play meaningful football at the end of the year, be playing it late into January and into February, and having that feeling of holding that trophy.
When you walk around here today, what's the one team that you got the most? Hey, come join my team.
Oh man, the Eagles have been out in full force. I've heard a good amount from Detroit, and Commanders have spoken up a couple times as well.
And the Eagles, right? They're in the big game.
Yeah.
Howie Roseman's always wheeling and dealing. We even have some of their media right here to the right recording this conversation. My old boss, Spike Eskin and Ike Reese, they're chanting at you, come to Philadelphia. You could see yourself eating some cheesesteaks and winning a championship in the city of brotherly love.
I mean, we went there for a preseason. I definitely got me a cheesesteak. It lived up to my hopes. And I'm not going to stay too attached to any one team at this point. I know my fate really is in my hands, but it would be a hell of a destination.
Look, it'd be fun, but I haven't really given too much thought about Myles Garrett going to Philly at this point. Although when Garrett popped up as the second best odds to go to Philly and Brett doubled down on his Myles Garrett to the Birds take, I figured I'd take a look again. Okay, so first off, when it comes to money, there's no issues there. Howie could find a way. Plus, if you thought the cap increases were a lot now, it's going to be just stupid in 4 to 5 years. And yeah, the idea of a defensive line with Jalen Carter, Myles Garrett, Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt, Jordan Davis, and others is just ridiculously scary. The difficulty just becomes how much you'd have to give up, and call me crazy, but that's probably where I draw the line. Although it honestly doesn't even matter if Cleveland's not willing to trade him. However, even though that was the case before the Super Bowl, that may no longer be an issue now. As Dianna Russini shared that it sounds like Cleveland may not be so absolute in not trading their standout.
I expect that to pick up, actually, over the next week or two, knowing that Myles Garrett's agent is going to be at the combine, talking to teams, talking to people around the league about what's going on. I can just tell you what I know at this point, and that's the Browns do not want to move him. They've gotten calls from teams in the NFC, they've gotten calls from teams in the AFC, and they've been told all the same thing. We're not moving him for now. So I have found the word "for now" interesting, yes, because the conversations I've had have been more, no, it's like, just kill the story. We're not trading him. It's over. Like, just stop. Myles is going to be in Cleveland. But for now, it makes it interesting. So I think we could see some movement if there is any. If Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski wind up, let's say, maybe taking a page out of the way Houston did it with Deshaun Watson, where it was essentially an auction, right? Where it was everybody put together their best offers, and at the end they made a decision of, okay, this is what we're going to do. So we'll see if it gets down there, if it goes down that road. But I can tell you, especially when I was in New Orleans, the Browns were very, very loud about making sure we all knew to put out to the world that they are not moving Myles Garrett. We'll see how it pans out.
Either way, we're going to find out where this thing's headed in the next couple weeks. Granted, I will admit that I feel the same way here as I did before Howie signed Saquon Barkley.
Zero. There is a 0% chance.
It's not that I'm opposed to it. It's just like I say, it's how much do you have to give up? And honestly, with the young core nucleus that we have, I'm okay if we don't get Myles Garrett. However, on the flip side, I totally understand if you're on social media, if you're online, or wherever you're at, you can tell there's a lot of dread from other teams going, is Philly about to get another game changer on the defensive side of the ball in Myles Garrett? Like, if all it took was this year's first and a couple of thirds, then heck yeah, you do it. But I think the price is going to get really steep, as it should for a player like him. Anyway, you guys let me know how you feel about all of this. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and stay on the lookout because I got some crazy giveaways coming up on the Friday night live stream. This has been the Philly Special.